Hey guys, if you're shopping for knives and gear, make sure you check out the description of the video you're watching right now for a link to my Amazon store where I've compiled some of the very best items available, including some of my own personal recommendations. Thanks! What's going on? YouTube Metal Complex here, and today I'm going to be talking about my opinion on the top 10 best knives under $250 that you can actually buy right now. So last week I said I want to be doing this weekend series for a little bit where I talk about the best knives that are currently available in certain price ranges, based on my opinion. We'll start off with 300, so 250 to 300, and then we'll go down to 200 to 250, so on and so forth. So this list is based on knives that are between $200 and $250 right now, and it's also based on knives that are available on Blade HQ. Why? Well, because Blade HQ has mostly everything, and I'm also an affiliate of Blade HQ. So basically what that means is, full disclosure, if you use any of the links that I'll be providing in this video to buy one of these knives, I do benefit from that. So I just want to make sure you guys understand that. But we will continue to do this series. I just wanted to make that very clear exactly what this is based on. If the list was based on knives of all time in this price range, then yeah, the list would definitely be different because there would be knives that were not available right now that would make the list. But I wanted to make sure that, they were available and that it was actually my opinion and I had to actually experience them. So we're going to get going here with the list. Just make sure, I want to remind everybody, I do, of course, have a live stream celebrating 20,000 subscribers on this channel tonight at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, and there are knives that you can win. If you'd like to figure out how you can get in on that, there is a link down in the description to the video where I explained how to enter. It should be a ton of fun. I'm really excited about it, and I am, of course, thankful for everybody who has supported me on my crazy journey to 20,000 subscribers. But yeah, check out that video link and join me tonight at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time for the live stream. Anyways, moving on here, the first one. Now, some of these were really hard on this list because, some of them I was like, oh yeah, that's an obviously good choice. Some of them I was like, what? When did they move the price up on that? I gotta find something else. And then I couldn't because the things that I wanted to put on the list weren't available. Now, fortunately, the Roxy is not one of those knives. I was actually very happy to put this knife on the list. This is an awesome little unique design, little Wharncliffe design that's got the forward choil. It's not a ton of space in the forward choil, but I love the lines on this thing. Love the blade shape. I love that it's kind of a chunky little tank of a Wharncliffe blade. This is a sweet knife. Now, in the future, prices will change. So if you're watching this knife a year in advance and you're like, that's not available or that's not within the price range, right? Well, prices change, right? So as of right now, as of the time of this video, this knife and everything else is between $200 and $250. I think this is an obvious choice. Knives does a great job with the materials that they use. They use the materials that are appropriate in the price range, right? And then their fit and finish is always excellent. The execution is great. Usually the blade geometry makes sense. Sometimes there's a little excess that goes into the aesthetics, and the designs can be a little bit polarizing, which is the case here. Some people are going to like this, some people aren't, but I think this is still a great choice for that price range. Moving on here, this was one that was a little bit rough for me because Benchmade has... they got a little bit of a pricing issue, but again, based on everything else that was available on Blade HQ in that price range, I came to the conclusion, I love the Benchmade Proper, the standard version. It's, this version in S90V and carbon fiber. It does have materials that are associated with a higher price tier for sure. The fact that it is a Benchmade, people automatically are like, it's overpriced, right? But this is a really, really good knife, and it's an exceptional EDC size knife. It is a slip joint, right? Very easy in the pocket. It's just over the line, by the way. I think it used to be a little bit less. It's just over the line now. Contoured carbon fiber on the scales, and we have these kind of bronzed, I think they're steel. I don't think they're titanium liners. I think they're steel with just kind of a heat bronze finish, but the contrast is so nice. And the one that I handled, actually all the Propers that I've handled, which is 3 now on the channel, have all been really solid. They have a nice snap into place. The blade shapes are awesome. They come in sheepsfoot and clip point. S90V, I think, makes a ton of sense on a small knife like this. I think the edge geometry is really good. This is a great regular sort of gentleman's EDC knife that is appropriate in a lot of settings, right? If you're working, if in the workplace, it's not super, appropriate to whip out a Halo 6. But the Benchmade Proper for sure, absolutely, and you can carry it pretty much anywhere. Just don't, make sure you remember it's in your pocket before you wash your pants because it doesn't have a pocket clip and it's pretty small. But I think, even though a lot of Benchmade knives tend to be a little bit overpriced, I think this one still definitely deserves a spot on the list. Moving on here, one that was like an obvious choice for a different price range until I realized that they had bumped the price a little bit. See what I mean about this? This is tough. The Cold Steel 8015 with the Scorpion lock, which now comes in black. So you can also get it in the original green and then black. So the first time I became aware of this knife, I think they were about 180 bucks. They have bumped the price. These are over $200 now. The black one's even a little bit more expensive. That's always rough when a knife starts out at a certain price and then they bump it. Even so, compared to everything else that's out there in a very tough, competitive price range, right? There's so much stuff coming out right now between $200 and $250. And a lot of it's just like, here's another titanium frame lock running on bearings and it's got kind of a weird shape and it's got this weird, you know, I'm like, but it's more the same and it's not really bringing anything unique to the table. So this was a tough one. We're looking at steel and we're looking at G10, and I don't know if the Scorpion lock itself is actually titanium. The blade shape is fantastic. The steel is S35EN, and this is arguably one of the most hard-use oriented fixed blades out there. It sucks that they increased the price, but it doesn't change the fact that it's definitely one of the best knives, in my opinion, between $200 and $250 right now. You can save a little bit of money and go with the green one. I don't know why they want to charge a little more money just because the G10's black, but I mean, truthfully, if it were me, I would I would probably buy the black one. These things are insane. Ergonomics are amazing. Andrew Demko, of course, an excellent knife designer, knife maker. This is the production form of the actual custom 8015. You have a forward choil. You've got great edge geometry. Cold Steel does it right. This is just another great example. It's an expensive example, but it is a great example. Moving on here, one that pains me because you guys don't know, or I'm sorry, you guys know probably that I really wasn't super wowed by the Spyderco Spidey Chef. But that's just because it just didn't take a form, an aesthetically pleasing form. To me, it was just boring. But I said in the review, I was like, I can't deny how amazing this thing is. I mean, we've got incredible edge geometry. It's fully flat ground. It's an LC200N, right? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, LC200N. I'm sorry, brain fart. There's so much knife information constantly bouncing around in my head. Titanium scales. We've got Taichung Taiwan's famous fit and finish and execution, right? This is an excellent tool. It is put together insanely well. To me, I think it was mostly the shape. It just didn't quite appeal to me. And it wasn't until after, I think, it didn't fully hit me exactly how good this thing was, despite me not liking it, until after I handled the Spyderco Spidey Chef. I'm sorry, the Spyderco Sleesh Bowie. Because it's essentially the same thing with a different blade shape and contoured titanium scales, right? I mean, they're both excellent for the same reason. It's just one takes a different aesthetic form that I like better. This thing runs on phosphor bronze. It's incredibly smooth. I mean, it makes a wonderful food prep folding knife and as well as a great EDC knife. It's expensive, but for good reason. Despite me not liking the form that it takes, I can't deny that it's one of the best options out there between $200 and $250. So yeah, absolutely. If you like how this looks, rest assured, it is definitely made well. Moving on here, the VOX Onso AceBiblio, actually the Giant Mouse VOX Onso AceBiblio in titanium. The one that I handled was in my Carta, and I really liked the knife. There were some zones in the knife that felt a little bit kind of, what am I trying to say here? Made you feel confined holding it, but truthfully, the ergonomic lines are great, and what they were trying to do is create, you know, good ergonomic lines with a good amount of cutting edge and still keep the thing compact. It is definitely made super well. It has the wire clip, right? Excellent blade geometry for EDC and cutting in general. And then you've got that opening slot there. This is a wonderful, wonderful knife for the price range. I have no problem putting it on this list. I think a lot of people like this thing aesthetically and for good reason. It's kind of, you know, there are a lot of things that are similar here. I mean, obviously it's a totally different knife, but like taking a look at the base materials and the general shape that it takes, I think you guys can understand why I like this one aesthetically more than the Spidey Chef, even though it is similar in construction and materials and the form that the materials take, right? It's just, I just like this better. That's just me. I think this is an excellent knife. In fact, I think this thing beats out a lot of what's available, you know, very, very easily. It was one that I was very happy to put on the list, is what I'm saying here. Moving on, of course. Now, this one took a little bit of a price bump here recently, too, but it is quite possibly the very best knife that Benchmade has ever created, and that's the Benchmade Mini Crooked River, and I'll also throw in the large Crooked River here, too. It's just a lot bigger. Yeah, now the standard form of this comes in the wood scales and the bolster there with the orange pivot color. Not everybody likes that, but they do have these on the custom shop. In any case, this is an excellent knife. Excellent blade shape, very easy to manipulate. I own one, and I love it. It's in my everyday, it's in my EDC rotation. They just nailed it. This is just a really, really good design. It's a simple construction. Some people might look at it and go, it's overpriced for the materials. I mean, you could say that about anything, but people tend to come down on Benchmade a little bit, understandably, but you do get Benchmade's warranty with it. Keep that in mind. Same thing with the Proper. Their warranty is excellent, and this is, again, one of their best knives ever. Absolutely. It stinks that it has recently crept above the $200 mark, but it's right there at the bottom. Anybody who picks this knife up, you have to grit your teeth through that price a little bit, but once it's in hand, you're like, oh man, it's just excellent. I really, really like the small and large Crooked River. Absolutely. Moving on here. Oh my gosh, this one came out of left field for me. I was so happy to put this one on the list. The Bestech Shodan. Anybody who has ever been frustrated with not being able to acquire and or pay for a Strider knife will find solace in the fact that this thing exists. I love Bestech. These are made in China, but they have similar fit and finish and quality to WE knives. Very, very good. This is actually designed by Todd Knife and Tool, which is the channel Zelric. I think it's Zelric and his brother here on YouTube. Anyways, I've really enjoyed, like the Bestech Malware, I think, was also designed by them. I really have enjoyed their knives. They do a great job with the proper size of a forward choil. And I understand not everybody likes a forward choil, right? They're like, I'd rather have, a 1/4 inch more cutting edge for all of those tasks that I do that require exactly a 1/4 inch more cutting edge. I know, don't jump on me. I know that people, it's more of a not really a symmetry thing, but a balance between handle and cutting edge ratios. I understand that. However, this knife grants you a ton of ergonomic freedom. It's very, very Strider-esque. You have that perfectly functional opening hole. There's a million different ways to manipulate this, and it's an excellent tool. It has what I'd called a few kind of unnecessary aesthetic lines, but they don't hinder the knife in a utilitarian sense. So there was very little here for me to complain about. And seriously, anybody who's been trying to get their hands on a Strider and it's just like, I can't find one, and even if I can, it's going to cost me like $500 or $600. These knives come in between $200 and $250, and they're in full titanium and S35VN. And the blade geometry, the actual edge geometry, the cutting geometry, whatever you want to call it, is excellent. This is a wonderful tool. Really, really like this knife. Definitely deserves a spot on the list. Moving on here. Oh my gosh, this was rough for me. Oh God. I love the Spyderco Jamming, guys. I love it. When it first came out, it was $150. And then they bumped the price to $185-ish. And that's when I picked it up. I didn't realize they had done a price bump. I was just like, okay, I'll try it. Had I been aware of the original price and decided, I'm not really sure, and then they bumped it, I would have been really upset about that. But they bumped it again. It's actually just, now, I don't know if it's like this. Everywhere that I've seen here recently, it's been just a little bit over $200. That was hard to choke down. So I kept it on the back burner, despite this being one of my favorite knives of all time. I kept it on the back burner, and I looked through, and I made sure that I was aware of everything that was available on the site between $200 and $250 before I came back to it. But the truth is, guys, it still belongs on the list. It stinks that they're up that high. I understand that, but still, oh my gosh, the heavy chamfering that really feels like contouring on this knife, the ergonomic lines, again, very Strider-esque. It is so unbelievably easy to manipulate. To this day, this is one of the most carried knives in my EDC rotation. It is at base just countersunk steel liners that are milled out, set into not really contour G10, but heavily chamfered G10 that is smooth, and then it's S30V. But it is robust, it is easy to manipulate, and it makes a wonderful large EDC knife. Kind of wish the pocket clip carried a little bit deeper, but that can be remedied with a clip if you want to spend even more money. And it's got the compression lock. This is, aside from the Spyderco Para 3, this is my favorite Spyderco knife that has ever existed. And I don't like the price on it currently, but it's still, if you can get around that price, you will be infinitely happy with this knife. It is a wonderful tool. Moving on here, ooh, everybody's like, the green carbon fiber. I know, the ZT0640 Emerson design. This is the only Emerson that I think, one of the only Emersons that I've ever enjoyed. And I know it's a ZT collab. Here's why. I don't care for the unicorn horn sticking out of the top of my knife because I've never needed to deploy my knife 0.00064 seconds faster than the situation, than any normal situation called for, right? I use my knives as tools. I enjoy fidgeting with them, flicking them out. I like the idea of knives that deploy quickly, I guess, in some dire circumstances, and I understand completely the reasoning behind that wave, and I suppose in some situations it might be really, really beneficial. But in this case, I'm considering materials, I'm considering, ergonomic form and availability, of course. This is an amazing knife. You got to get around those lizard-colored scales. But man, honestly, had they chosen like gray or black for the scales, I think this knife would have done a lot better. This is a titanium liner lock with scales, or you call them overlays if you want. They are carbon fiber, and I understand they're kind of gross, but listen, aside from the color, the rest of this knife is so good. It's got a thumb disc opener, so you kind of have to figure out how that works, but it really does work well. It's also on phosphor bronze. This knife is 100% ready to be used, and it takes a really pocket-friendly form because there's no flipper tab. It was very unlike ZT at the time to do something like this. And I looked at it and I thought, oh, green, cool. But I was looking at one of those really dressed up images where the green looked more emerald than pond scum. It's a little more pond scum. But again, if you can overlook those scales, I think this is a little bit of an underrated knife. I think people got really bent out of shape about the scales, but the form that it takes is really, really good. Fit and finish is excellent. It's in 20 CV and titanium. There's a lot of little tiny details, and it's made in the USA. Really, really great knife for between $200 and $250, absolutely. The last one on the list, I think, is still the best bang for your buck right now. And the funny thing is, it's a knife that's been around forever, but probably won't be around for very long. So seriously, I don't want to be pushy. I'm just saying, if you have not experienced this knife and you're looking for a knife in the price range, right, this is probably a knife that will be discontinued in the near future. The ZT0452CF Sienkiewicz design. This is a big knife, first and foremost. This is the one that's like 9¼ inches overall, but oh my God, this is easily one of ZT's best knives ever. These knives are insanely cool. Insanely cool. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they're S35EN. They could be 20 CV. In this price range, I really don't care. In fact, in any price range, I don't care. Give me 20 CV or S35EN, I'm happy with it. This thing has such a powerful flipping action, but a lot of them are fall shut or very nearly fall shut. It's black carbon fiber and titanium. Just feels excellent in hand. This is one of those knives where as soon as you flip it, it just feels like raw power. This is an awesome knife. Literally, the only thing in this knife that I don't like is the fact that the pivot looks like an aftermarket rim on a Honda Civic. That's what it looks like. It looks like a rim on a car from Fast and the Furious. But everything else is just excellent about this knife, and it is well worth the money in this price range. USA made, runs on bearings, premium materials. I love this knife. I like the straightforward look. I love the big swedge, and you have an insane amount of cutting edge. And it's a robust blade. It's not like that tip gets so skinny at the end that you really have to worry about it just snapping off, the first time somebody sneezes at it. No, seriously, it is very robust for a long, slender blade. This is probably my favorite Sienkiewicz design. There's a lot of ZT Sienkiewiczes where I'm like, it just looks like a big capital S. There's too much curvature. This one is nice and straight and just, it's such a beautiful knife. And it's been a top seller for ZT for so long, understandably. It'll be a sad day when this thing is finally discontinued, but guys, it's gonna happen. You can pick this knife up right now, but it's not always gonna be that way, so, treat yourself. Oh my gosh. Guys, that's going to be pretty much it for today's list. I hope that this was helpful. Remember, if you're watching this on Saturday, the exact day that I upload it, check out the live stream tonight at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time, and make sure you check out the link in the description to the video where I announced it so you know how to enter to win. Absolutely. Thanks again for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like. If you'd like to check out my other content, I do, of course, have lots of videos of knives that are either expensive or inexpensive that I do or don't like, so check those out. And if you enjoy all my content, go ahead and click on that Metal Complex logo right there and subscribe because there's definitely more coming. Thanks again for watching, everybody, and have a great day.